Welcome back to the radio. Where are you listening from, and what time is it on your end? However your day is gone, this is a place to soften, settle, and let it all quiet down. If you're finding comfort here, feel free to subscribe to Quilloren Radio. There's a new story here every night to keep you company. Tonight's story takes you to the year 1291. You are a castle gatekeeper, posted at the outermost edge of a forgotten stone fortress. The road before you hasn't seen travelers in days. Nothing stirs beyond the wind, and even the birds seem to be keeping their distance. It's a post of routine and patience, where silence grows familiar and time feels a bit stretched at the edges. Without further ado, let's begin. The stones beneath your boots are familiar, uneven in places, warm where the morning sun lingers, cold in the shade of the battlements. You step slowly across the worn path that leads from your sleeping quarters to the front gate, taking your time. No one else is around. The other guards have been reassigned, temporarily or permanently, you're not sure. Your post remains unchanged as it has for years. You are the one who watches the road. That is your task. Or, more precisely, to keep watch in case the road ever remembers to send someone. The gate itself is a tall wooden structure bound by iron that has long since stopped shining. It opens outward, toward the narrow dirt path that winds off into the tree line. On most days, it remains closed, not out of necessity, but because it feels improper to leave it open. Today, however, you opened it just past dawn, as you always do, even though no one passed through yesterday, or the day before, or the week before that. There's something respectable about an open gate, even if the wind is the only guest. The drawbridge was lowered more out of ceremony than expectation. Its chains creaked in protest this morning, slower than usual, as if they too were beginning to question the point of it all. You gave them a polite nod, as you do, and pretended not to notice the faint groan your own knees offered in reply. You know exactly where to place your foot so the wood doesn't complain too loudly under your weight. This is one of the many skills you have mastered in your post, a quiet sort of expertise with no name. Beyond the drawbridge, the land opens into a flat stretch of low grass, with an occasional tuft of stubborn weeds that no one has had the energy to remove. The road is little more than packed dirt, marked by old wagon ruts that haven't seen fresh wear in a long while. Trees line the far end, swaying gently. They seem to discuss you sometimes, though never too loudly. You've made peace with the fact that you may be a minor character in their ongoing forest drama. Behind you, the castle rises with the subdued drama of old stone. Its towers aren't tall enough to impress, and not short enough to ignore. Moss clings to the shaded corners, and pigeons have declared the eastern spire theirs in a kind of silent occupation. The wind carries the smell of cold ash from the kitchen hearth, though breakfast hasn't been lit in hours. You can't remember the last time you saw steam rising from the chimney in earnest. You make your way along the outer wall, just to feel the air. There's a pleasant resistance to the morning chill, not too sharp, not yet. Your cloak shifts slightly with each step, brushing the side of your leg like a slow companion trying to keep pace. The iron fixtures along the wall, meant for hanging lanterns or weapons, have begun to serve other purposes now. One holds a bird's nest. Another hosts a cobweb that looks remarkably well engineered. You leave them alone. Their occupants seem far more committed than any invading force has been in recent memory. The wall walk takes you to the gate tower, a squat, mostly hollow structure where you occasionally sit and pretend to take inventory. Inside is a bench, a broken stool, and a rack of old spears whose tips have dulled into peaceful retirement. You touch one lightly out of habit. It doesn't resist. Even the weapons have grown tired of posturing. There's a small table as well, scratched and warped, with a ledger book that remains blank because you stopped pretending to write in it last spring. You keep a quill beside it, dipped perpetually in dry ink, in case someone from the capital arrives and expects to see signs of diligent record-keeping. It's a minor performance, one you've come to enjoy. You've even practiced the concerned nod you'll use when showing them the book, should the occasion ever arise. A soft creaking noise draws your attention. It's only the bird again, the same one that has been circling the gatehouse for weeks now. You haven't named it. Naming things gives them permanence, and you're not sure the bird deserves that kind of responsibility. It perches on a bent metal loop high above the main arch and stares at you with what could be interpreted as judgment or indifference. You nod back politely, just in case it understands. The wind picks up slightly, rustling your cloak and carrying with it a faint whiff of damp earth. Somewhere nearby, water trickles from a spout no one maintains, spilling into a cracked basin that fills too slowly to be useful. It makes a sound like gentle tapping, as if someone were trying to remember the rhythm of an old tune. You let it continue without interruption. You pass through the gate once more, stepping just far enough beyond it to stand on the packed dirt of the road. The trees don't shift, and nothing comes from beyond the bend. You squint for a moment, not out of hope, but because the sun has begun to rise just enough to make it slightly inconvenient. A fly buzzes once near your ear and then reconsiders. There's a rhythm to your watch, built not on activity but repetition. The same creak of the drawbridge, the same bench in the gate tower, the same bird, the same road. There is no disappointment in the stillness, just the acknowledgement of it, the simple repetition of days that blur gently at the edges. Somewhere, someone might write a ballad about a forgotten gatekeeper who held the line through countless silent mornings. You suspect it wouldn't be a popular song. You turn and walk the slow curve back toward the castle wall, your steps timed with the small, uneven patches in the stone. The cold settles more easily into your fingers now, and you fold your hands into your sleeves with practiced ease. The bird above lets out a noise that might have been a question or an insult, and you resist the urge to respond. The day has begun, or at least it's continuing. The road remains empty, the gate open, and you, at your post, quietly present for whatever might not arrive. You drift between your usual posts with no particular order. There's the short walk from the gate to the watch hut, the corner where the wind always finds a way in, the stack of unused shields no one has had the heart to move. Your duties are more ceremonial than necessary, but you carry them out with the soft precision of someone who understands that repetition, when done well, is its own form of peace. The path curves gently from the gate toward a small alcove built into the outer wall. It was meant as a resting point for messengers or visiting riders, but now it holds a collection of wooden buckets, an old broom whose bristles have curled from damp, and a small sack of something that was once grain. A few mice have taken an interest in that sack, judging by the polite gnawing. You don't mind. They've never caused trouble, and you suspect they find you equally unthreatening. Your boots make a slow, deliberate sound on the stones, one that barely echoes. The walls around you are thick, designed long ago for sieges that never came. Moss thrives in the cracks, spreading out in uneven, thoughtful patterns. You once tried to scrape it clean, but it grew back with such quiet determination that you've since decided to let it win. It adds character. There's a small window carved into the wall at shoulder height, meant for viewing the road from an angle that no longer matters. The wood frame is soft from age. You press your palm gently against it and feel the cold seeping in. Outside, the trees sway with a rhythm of their own. Leaves fall occasionally, not in clusters but in singles, A leaf here, a leaf there, like they've scheduled their departures individually to avoid a fuss. The hut you use during the colder months stands just to the right of the gate tower. It leans slightly to one side, not enough to collapse, just enough to make you question your own posture whenever you stand inside it too long. The door creaks, of course. You gave up oiling the hinges after the last bottle of oil turned rancid, and now the creak has become part of the routine, a kind of greeting. Inside, the walls are lined with hooks meant for weapons or cloaks. Yours is the only one hanging, a thick woolen thing that smells faintly of last winter and dried herbs. There's a small cot in the corner with a mattress that holds the shape of your rest like it doesn't want to forget. The blanket is serviceable, though it has acquired a series of mysterious embroidered repairs you don't recall making. A stool sits nearby, round-topped and wobbling slightly. You've grown used to its uneven balance, and now find perfectly stable furniture unnerving. There's a small tin cup on the ledge above your cot. You take it outside now and again to collect rainwater, more for the principle of it than any practical need. Today it's empty, sitting patiently, gathering dust. You tilt it slightly. It makes no protest, just a dry shift of weight. The wind moves gently through the open window slits in the hut, carrying with it the faintest trace of smoke. Somewhere deep in the castle, someone is burning something, perhaps a cook testing a new idea, or a scribe destroying evidence of a spelling error. You breathe in the smell and let it drift past without forming a story. Back outside, the road remains empty. It stretches forward like a forgotten bookmark, untouched and quietly waiting. A small wooden marker stands at the bent, its painted symbol long since worn to a faint blur. You once asked the steward what it meant, but he waved his hand and said something about distances and old customs. You now think of it as more of a conversational piece, not that it often joins in. You follow the inside path along the wall toward the southeast turret, which is really more of a glorified platform. From here, the view extends a little farther, just enough to confirm that nothing continues to happen in all directions. The turret's flagpole leans slightly, and the flag itself has become a suggestion of cloth, fraying at the edges and clinging to the pole with a kind of quiet stubbornness. You admire it, in a way. It's not pretty, but it's persistent. There's a small bench nearby, built into the stone. You didn't notice it for your first 3 months at the post. It blends into the wall so seamlessly that even now you sometimes forget it's there. Sitting on it puts you at an odd angle, forcing you to either hunch forward or lean back, like you're waiting for philosophical inspiration. You do neither. Instead, you rest your arms on your knees and look at the trees. They don't look back, but they don't ignore you either. They're simply there as you are, rooted by routine, moved by weather. A few birds pass overhead, none stopping. A soft buzz from somewhere nearby suggests that one of the castle's lantern fixtures is hosting a particularly large and lazy fly. You hear it bump softly against the iron once. Then again, as if unsure how light works. Your eyes drift toward a stone basin just outside the hut. It was probably a water trough once. Now it holds whatever the wind gives it. Leaves, dust, the occasional feather. You cleaned it last spring, but it has since returned to its natural state of modest disarray. You let it be. Everything here seems to return to its own rhythm eventually. A light rattle comes from the gate itself. The wind slips through the seam between wood and stone, making the latch tremble slightly. You tighten it without thinking, a movement done so many times it barely registers. The wood under your hand feels worn smooth, not by age alone, but by repetition. There's comfort in the texture, like the grip of something that remembers being useful. You return to your place near the tower, to a spot where the stone is warm and the air still. The castle behind you rests in its own silence. Ahead, the road continues to offer nothing in particular. You settle once more into the rhythm of watching, not for anything specific, but simply because it's what you do. The wind shifts slightly, a cloud moves overhead, and you, keeper of the gate, resume your quiet post, exactly where you left off. Beside the gate, just off to the left where the wall curves inward, there's a wooden bench no one but you uses anymore. It's not much to look at. The legs are uneven. The slats creak if you breathe near them, and one end dips toward the ground like it's trying to sneak away. Still, it holds. It has always held. And over the years, it's become yours. You sit on it every day, usually mid-morning, after your first round along the wall. The bench faces the road, not directly, but at a thoughtful angle, as if it were meant to suggest attention without being too forward about it. From this seat, you can see the full stretch of dirt beyond the drawbridge, the low grass that grows along the edges, and the tree line that hasn't shifted since the year the castle blacksmith swore he saw a bear and spent 3 weeks patrolling the kitchens just in case. Carved into the middle slat of the bench is a line of letters, uneven and partially worn away. No one knows who made them. Some have guessed a soldier, some a lovesick messenger. You've stared at them long enough to decide that they were either carved in a hurry or by someone who didn't know how to spell the word onion. The result is a string of shapes that vaguely resemble a declaration, but might just be a shopping list. You've made peace with not knowing. The bench has developed a habit of collecting things. Leaves gather there without your permission, arranged in tiny piles like offerings. Dust settles in the grooves of the carvings, and in the winter, snow makes the entire thing look vaguely noble for a day or two, before melting unevenly and revealing its usual slouch. You sometimes brush it clean, but not always. There's a strange charm in the way it accepts everything. Wind, weather, your weight, without comment. This is where you spend the quietest parts of the day, the moments between patrols, between checking the latch and watching the trees for any movement that never comes. It's where you've eaten countless hard rolls and a truly unfortunate number of boiled eggs. You've spilled tea here exactly 4 times, each with its own small sigh, and once you dropped a coin that slipped between the slats and disappeared forever. You could hear it hit the stone underneath, but no amount of poking with a stick could bring it back. You like to think it's still there, being occasionally nudged by ants who don't care for currency. The bench has also become a kind of unofficial notice board. People leave things on it, not often, and never anything urgent. A bundle of herbs once. A folded piece of parchment with a drawing of what might have been a goat, or possibly someone's attempt at a dragon. Last spring, someone left a single sock, neatly rolled, with a small stone placed on top to keep it from blowing away. You left it there for 3 days before admitting it wasn't going to be reclaimed. It now serves as a rather soft cushion for the left side of the bench. Though it does smell faintly of turnip, there's a rhythm to sitting here. You lower yourself carefully, as the back slat has a sharp edge that caught your tunic once and created a tear that still hasn't been repaired. You rest your elbows on your knees. The wood beneath you creaks, complains, then settles. From here, the road looks different, not shorter, but somehow quieter, as if the space between you and the trees has grown thicker with the absence of footsteps. Sometimes you think you see movement, just a flicker, a shape that might be a rider or a figure on foot, but at Never Island, your eyes adjust, the light shifts, and the illusion fades. You don't chase it anymore. The road will bring someone when it's ready, or it won't. Either way, the bench remains here, waiting with you. There's something grounding about having a spot that doesn't demand anything from you. The bench doesn't need guarding. It doesn't expect conversation. It just exists. A slab of old wood, set against a wall, tilted slightly by time and wear. It isn't proud. It's never been polished. But it has held the weight of countless hours, and never once buckled in protest. You once considered asking the steward if it could be replaced. That was 3 years ago, and the thought has yet to make it past the vague stage. To be honest, you don't want a new bench. A new one would be level. It would be clean, uncarved, and probably made by someone who thought about symmetry. This bench has no such pretensions. It sags, it moans, it leans, and in doing so, it keeps you company in a way that a better bench couldn't. In the colder months, you sometimes drape a spare blanket over it. The bench doesn't care either way, but the gesture makes you feel like you're doing something generous. It's a way of saying thank you, even if the object you're thanking has never given any indication it notices. Still, you do it. Routine is full of such rituals. A few days ago, someone, likely one of the kitchen hands, left a piece of bread on the bench. Just a corner, really, stale and partially nibbled. You left it there, assuming it would attract something. Nothing came. It sat for 2 full days before a gust of wind finally carried it off. In its place, the bench now hosts a small pile of wind-blown flower petals, arranged with the kind of accidental beauty that no human could achieve on purpose. You lean back now, shifting your weight slightly so the bench doesn't rock too much. The air is still. The wind is elsewhere. The wood beneath you groans softly, like an old friend settling in beside you. Ahead, the road is unchanged. The trees remain upright and mostly silent. Somewhere to your right, the bird makes its usual unconvincing noise, a sort of half-call that suggests it once heard another bird do something similar. And here you are, same place, same bench, same watch. It is not exciting, but it is consistent. You shift again, fold your arms loosely, and let the creak of the slats and the empty stretch of dirt ahead become your company. The bench accepts your weight once more, and the day continues without hurry. You don't remember when you stopped looking for movement. There was a time, early on, when every shadow along the tree line drew your eyes. A flicker of shape, a bend in the grass, the distant shift of branches, they all used to hold potential. Messages, merchants, visitors, scouts. Now, when the leaves move, you let them. Whatever they're saying isn't meant for you. You rest on the bench, arms folded. There's no urgency, no reason to adjust your posture. The air is still cool against your cheeks, and your breath comes steady. You watch the empty road not out of habit, but out of comfort. It's not awaiting anymore. It's just what's there. The sound of your own breathing becomes part of the setting. In, then out. Soft, controlled, like a slow bellows from an old forge. Your chest rises and falls beneath the cloak, the wool brushing against your chin in time with the rhythm. Your hands stay tucked in your sleeves, fingers gently curled. The longer you sit, the quieter the world becomes. A loose thread from the hem of your cloak catches your attention. It's curled into a little loop, tugging slightly every time the wind shifts. You could pull it off, but there's something satisfying about watching it move. A tiny flag, gently uncertain. The thread remains. It dances now and then, just enough to remind you that things are still happening, even if they're small. The stone beneath your feet is uneven. You know the pattern well, too smooth, one cracked, one with a small rise that catches your boot every few days. You shift your heel slightly and feel it nestle into its usual spot. You could close your eyes and still know where everything is around you. The length of the bench, the shape of the gate, the slight indent in the wall behind you, worn down from years of leaning. There's a softness to the silence, not the hollow kind, but the kind that settles in, the type that fills a space, not empties it. Somewhere deep in the castle, someone might be moving, a pot being shifted, a broom dragged across stone, but none of it reaches here. Out here, the world is narrowed to stone, wind, and breath. Even the bench seems quieter than usual. No creaks, no shifts. It holds your weight with the patience of something old and unbothered. You've sat here in rain, snow, sun, and wind. The bench remembers all of it. Its slanted seat and soft splinters are as familiar as your own boots. A gust of air moves through, not sharp, just present. It lifts your hood slightly before letting it drop. The road doesn't stir. Not even a bird calls. The usual one, with its unimpressive voice, is silent today. Perhaps even it has decided there's nothing to announce. You reach into the pocket inside your cloak and pull out a small cloth, not to clean, not to polish, just something to hold. The texture is rough, familiar. You fold it once, then again, then let it rest in your palm. It adds weight to your hand in the same way sitting adds weight to the hour. Time passes slowly, but not in a way that bothers you. It folds around your post, stretching the space between moments until they all feel the same. The sun hasn't moved much. Shadows shift only slightly, stretching long beside the stone wall. They look like extensions of yourself, calm, elongated, vaguely thoughtful. Your breathing slows further, the kind of breath that comes when there's nothing to say and nothing to respond to. You don't need to listen for anything. You just exist inside the sound of air moving through your nose, the warmth of it leaving again. Your chest rises, your chest falls. You are neither tense nor slouched, just there. The drawbridge groans once, a low creak that fades almost instantly. It didn't move. It never does, really. But the wood likes to remind you that it's still capable of noise. You tilt your head slightly in acknowledgement. The gate doesn't answer, neither do the trees. You didn't expect them to. There's a crack in the wall, near your left elbow. Not large, but enough to notice. You've run your fingers across it before, rough at the edges, smooth in the middle. You do it again now, slowly, letting your hand trace the shape without needing to finish. There's a comfort in its permanence. Nothing changes it, not heat, not rain. It stays where it is, and so do you. Your feet are flat against the stone, not planted, just resting. Toes angled slightly outward, boots worn smooth on the edges. You haven't replaced them because there's been no reason to. They fit. They work. They keep the weather out and the warmth in. That's enough. The sky above is pale, not quite blue, Not quite gray, just wide. A thin wisp of cloud floats near the top of your vision, moving in no particular direction. You don't follow it. You simply see it, note it, and let it be. Everything is like that right now, present, but not demanding. Stillness isn't the absence of motion. It's what happens when motion no longer needs to be noticed. You sit, you breathe. The road remains. The bench supports you. The breeze pauses. You don't feel the need to count the time. The hour can arrive whenever it wants. You'll be here when it does. Your cloak shifts again, the fabric warming slightly where it touches your neck. You exhale softly, barely more than a sigh. The sound joins the silence and disappears into it. Nothing follows. Here, in this place between wall and gate, between stone and road, there is nothing to guard and nothing to expect. Only stillness. Only presence. Only you. If this quiet watch is helping you feel still, consider subscribing to Quilloren Radio. There's a new sleep story here every night. Always soft, always slow, always waiting. Your presence here matters more than you think. Let the road remain empty if it must. For now, you're exactly where you need to be. The stillness lingers, but something beneath it begins to shift. Not a sound, not a movement, just the sense that the space around you has thickened slightly. The air carries a different weight now, not heavier, just less certain of its boundaries. You remain seated on the bench, but the light on the road looks unfamiliar in a way that feels polite, as if it's experimenting with a new hue and would rather you not mention it. The trees across the way seem taller, not dramatically so, more like they've taken a quiet stretch after a long nap. Their trunks feel slightly farther apart, the gaps between them too wide to be what you remember. Or perhaps it's the road that is narrowed. You can't tell anymore, and you're not inclined to investigate. The shapes still match the ones you've memorized. They've just shifted their posture a bit. A soft haze curls low over the ground. Not mist, exactly. More like memory pretending to be weather. It hugs the dirt in slow patterns, unbothered by wind or gravity, as if it's practicing. You watch it move, not quite tracing anything, just drifting along the worn tracks of wagons long gone. It seems to stop now and then, perhaps reconsidering its direction, before continuing without urgency. The gate beside you feels taller than it did earlier. You glance at it without turning your head, and for a moment, the iron fixtures appear newer. Not polished, they would never go that far, but cleaner, straighter. You blink once, and they resume their usual posture, leaning slightly inward as if eavesdropping on your thoughts. The latch, always 1 degree loose, now sits perfectly flush. It looks like it belongs there, which is unsettling. Behind you, the castle breathes. Not loudly, not even audibly, but its presence has softened. The stones no longer press outward. They seem to recline a bit, letting the air lean against them. One of the towers appears to have lost a row of bricks, or perhaps gained one. It's hard to tell in this light. The banner above it, which was tattered and clinging earlier, now hangs still and symmetrical, catching no wind and casting no shadow. You lean forward slightly. Your knees respond with familiar stiffness, but the sensation feels distant, like it belongs to someone else. Your hands rest on your thighs. The skin on your knuckles looks smoother for a moment, as if time has reversed by a few seasons and then thought better of it. You flex your fingers gently, They creak once, and the sound is somehow both present and forgotten. A bird glides overhead. Not the usual one. This one is larger, slower, with wings that don't quite flap. It moves like it's swimming through the air, and as it passes, it casts a long shadow that drapes across the road without touching the ground. You watch it continue toward the tree line, then vanish behind a shape that wasn't a tree a moment ago. It might still be one now. You decide not to stand and check. The bench beneath you adjusts itself slightly. Not enough to startle, but enough to make you question whether you had leaned differently or whether it had chosen to settle. You feel the weight of your body, yet the pressure is less. The wooden slats are just as they were, but they don't seem as committed to creaking. Even the dip at the end has smoothed itself out, as if making an effort. Your gaze drifts to the basin near the hut, the one that catches rain and leaves. Today, it holds water, clear and still, even though there hasn't been rain in days. You don't remember it filling. But now it mirrors the sky perfectly, showing a cloud formation that doesn't match what you see above. In the reflection, the clouds are soft rings, orbiting slowly, as if undecided on where to go. You consider walking toward it, just to verify. But your legs feel unnecessary now, not numb, just gently irrelevant. You remain where you are, because movement has ceased to be part of the language here. Watching is enough. Breathing is enough. Existing is, for now, an entirely passive act. The trees across the road shimmer slightly at the edges. Not movement, more like softness. Their leaves appear painted. Some hang at angles that ignore gravity, while others pulse gently, like they're breathing. Between them, shadows stretch too far, bending in curves where corners used to be. A stone along the road has grown taller, or the road is lowered, or perhaps the stone is simply more confident than it was this morning. The cracks in the castle wall hum faintly, not a sound you can hear, but a vibration you know is present. You touch the stone near your elbow. It's warm now. Not from sun, but from something else. Memory, maybe. It feels like holding a story that hasn't been told yet. You close your eyes for a moment. When you open them, the road is gone. Not vanished, just obscured. The haze has thickened and changed color slightly. Not gray. More of a gentle blue, like morning forgotten at the bottom of a teacup. The path still exists beneath it. You just don't need to see it right now. Somewhere overhead, a bell chimes. One single note, held longer than it should be. The air doesn't carry the sound away. It holds it close, wrapping it in silence like a keepsake. You wait for a second chime. It doesn't come. But you feel the echo for minutes afterward, threading through your chest, winding along your spine. The drawbridge creaks again, but now the sound is pleasant, like a well-tuned instrument sighing. The boards don't resist, they settle into place. Somewhere in the corner of your vision, the shadow of a rider pauses at the edge of the trees. Not a person, not really, just a shape. Watching, or resting, or merely existing the way a memory does when it visits. You exhale. The sound blends with the mist. The world around you holds. Nothing demands action. Nothing calls your name. Even your name feels optional here, like a coat you left on a hook before stepping outside. The bench, the gate, the sky, the soft, strange road, all of it remains, weightless and steady, humming quietly in a place between what is and what almost was. And you, the gatekeeper, still sit, still watching, or resting, or perhaps dreaming. though you don't remember when that might have begun. The air begins to cool, not in a sudden gust, but in a slow, quiet exhale. It slips beneath your cloak and across your collar in a way that feels deliberate, like a careful reminder. You don't flinch. You simply adjust your hands inside your sleeves and let the new temperature settle. The bench beneath you feels different now, firmer, more certain, as though it's remembered its original shape after years of forgetfulness. The light changes. It's not brighter or darker, only deeper, like someone turned the color of the day slightly inward. Shadows begin to stretch, not because the sun is lower, but because the light has decided to reach more gently. The sky fades into a pale gold, one that doesn't warm but soothes. Even the trees seem to lean back into it, letting their limbs hang looser. Their outlines soften again, but this time, without strangeness, they no longer shift or stretch. They simply rest. You stand, slowly. The motion isn't required, but it feels respectful, as if the new stillness has invited you to see it from another angle. Your legs cooperate, though there's a moment where your knees voice a mild objection, more out of tradition than discomfort. You press your palms briefly against your thighs and step away from the bench. The space you leave behind feels untouched, as though you were never seated at all. The road ahead is slightly damp now. You didn't hear any rain. There was no change in the wind, and yet the dirt is darker, richer, as though moisture has settled in from beneath rather than above. Your boots press gently into it, leaving soft imprints that fade within seconds. The earth is forgiving today. To your left, the gate stands half open. It must have shifted while you sat, but the movement was so quiet you didn't notice. One of the hinges lets out a soft pop as it adjusts. Not a protest, just acknowledgement. You place a hand on the wood. It's cool, but not cold. The surface is smoother than before, though the old cracks are still visible beneath your fingertips. You give it the slightest nudge. It swings open the rest of the way without resistance. A shaft of light spills through the opening, narrow and golden. Dust dances in it, slow, lazy particles that move like they're unsure where they're going. You walk through them, and they part with the gentleness of curtain beads. Nothing clings, nothing follows. You find yourself standing just beyond the drawbridge now. The boards beneath your boots are firmer than you remember. They no longer creak or shift. The ropes that support them appear freshly wound, as if someone has gone through the trouble of maintenance during your sleep. You pause mid-bridge and glance back at the castle. It has shifted too. Nothing dramatic, no towers moved or battlements changed, but its posture is different. The whole structure seems relieved, as though it too has been let off duty for a while. Smoke drifts lazily from a chimney that hadn't been lit in days. A single shutter flutters against the side of a tower like a slow wave. You look forward again. The road no longer ends at the tree line. It continues, just a little further than before, not in a straight line, but with a soft bend, as if it's chosen to wander off in thought. You follow it. Your steps are light, not hurried. There is no purpose to your walking. There is only movement now, soft and reasonable. A breeze picks up. This one is real, not imagined. It carries with it a scent you haven't smelled in years. The crisp sweetness of apples, distant and faint, mixed with the earthy cool of turned soil. No trees nearby bear fruit, and yet the smell persists. You close your eyes as it passes. When you open them, the grass along the edge of the road has changed. It's taller, greener, speckled with small flowers that weren't there before. Blue and white and yellow, arranged with complete indifference to aesthetic. They've simply arrived. You kneel, touch one. It leans into your finger like it's slightly embarrassed. You offer a brief nod and continue walking. Farther along, a low stone marker sits beside the road. Not the same one from earlier. That one is still back near the trees. This one is new, or old, in a way that makes it feel fresh. There are symbols carved into its surface, not letters, just shapes. Circles, lines, a triangle that doesn't quite close at the top. You run your fingers across them. The stone hums faintly under your touch, like it's remembering something. You rise and keep walking. The sound of your boots changes. The road becomes smoother, like it's been swept. The dirt turns to packed gravel, and then to a soft path lined with moss. You don't question it. You've long passed the point of asking why things appear or behave differently. The world around you isn't being inconsistent. It's being gentle. To your right, a grove appears. Low trees with silver trunks and pale leaves. They shimmer faintly, not from wind, but from the way light filters through them. One leaf falls. It spins twice, then lands upright, completely still. You do not enter the grove. You simply notice it. It notices you back. The light is changing again. Not dimming, not brightening. It simply smooths everything out. Shadows no longer stretch. They fold in, gently wrapping around objects like fabric. The road narrows again, then widens, then forgets its shape altogether before correcting itself. You are not lost. There is nowhere to be lost from. A sound begins in the distance. A gentle bell, but not the same one from earlier. This one is quieter, duller, the kind of sound that only exists when you're not trying to hear it. It stays just at the edge of perception. You continue walking, though you're not sure the path is beneath you anymore. It feels like walking through a thought, steady and slow. Behind you, the gate is still open. The bench is still in place. The castle still leans softly into its own memory. But all of it feels farther away now. Not gone, just quieter. As if those parts of your watch have finished their sentence and are now sitting back with folded arms, content to observe. You pause one final time. Ahead, the road becomes itself again. Dirt, grass, shadows. The trees return to their familiar shapes. The light steadies. The breeze fades. You breathe in once, then let it go. And with that breath, you take one more step forward. Not toward anything, not away from anything. Just forward. The world around you accepts it, reshaping slightly to make room. Nothing needs explaining. Nothing asks for attention. Everything simply continues. You stop walking. Not because you've reached anything in particular, but because the moment calls for it. The air around you is still again, though not in the same way it was earlier. This stillness feels older, like something that's been sitting, waiting for decades, finally remembering its purpose. The bench is long gone behind you now, lost in the soft folds of distance and time. The castle is no longer visible. It might still be there, heavy, quiet, unchanged. But here, where you stand, the world feels wider. There's more sky than you remember, more space between the trees. Even the wind seems to move with the patience of someone who knows you're not going anywhere quickly. You sit down on a flat stone by the roadside. It's not meant to be a seat, but it doesn't argue. Your knees fold easily, and the stone is cool beneath you. A patch of sun warms your shoulder, then leaves. You rest your hands on your lap and look forward. And then, quietly, the years begin to stretch. You wonder, without meaning to, what this place might look like in another 40 years. Will there still be a gate to keep? Will there still be a reason for someone to sit by the road and glance toward the trees? Or will the job have dissolved, absorbed by something newer, faster, less contemplative? Maybe the gate will become decorative, kept for nostalgia, admired during festivals, lit by lanterns for charm. Children might climb its beams without knowing it once mattered. Or maybe it'll be taken down entirely, too old, too cracked, replaced with something smoother, something more uniform, a gate with no stories. The bench, if it still stands, will be warped beyond use, or gone, or repurposed as firewood by someone who doesn't know you used to sit there every day, watching a road that gave nothing back. You picture someone tossing it into a hearth, wondering aloud why it creaks so much before it burns. You imagine a new gatekeeper, younger, sharper boots, better posture, a uniform perhaps with a stitched crest and well-oiled hinges on the hut. Maybe they'll use a different word entirely, not gatekeeper, something more formal, more modern, or more distant. Liaison of perimeter entry, road surveillance officer, coordinator of seasonal thresholds. They'll have tools, too. Something compact and clever. Not a sword or a spear, but a device that hums and flashes when something crosses the path. Maybe it will alert them silently. Maybe they won't even need to look up. Their bench, if they have one, might heat itself in winter, chill in summer. No sock cushions, no uneven legs. No slanted seat that teaches your spine to curve like a question. You smile. Just barely. Will they know the sound of the drawbridge creaking in the morning sun? Will they ever count the seconds between gusts of wind through the slats? Will they sit long enough to notice that the same bird, or its grandchild, returns each year to fake its own song in the eaves? Unlikely. But then again, maybe someone will remember. Maybe an older cook or stable hand will mention the bench in passing. The old guard used to sit there, they'll say. Didn't talk much, but he was always there. And someone will nod, unsure if it's true, and go back to whatever the future demands. The castle will change, too. Its halls may be wired with something invisible humming quietly with information and heat. The torch is gone, replaced by bulbs or panels or glowing stones. Something soft and clean and entirely unremarkable. The smell of stone and ash might fade, replaced by polished floors and controlled air. Still, you wonder, will the place feel quieter then, or louder? You suspect louder. The road might change shape, be paved, straightened, flanked by markers that glow at night. Wagons replaced by machines that hum instead of clatter. No hooves, no rattling wheels, no uneven stones. Just soft motion and speed. Maybe the road will no longer matter. Maybe people will stop using it altogether, favoring something in the air or underground. And if no one uses the road, who will guard it? You close your eyes briefly and picture yourself in that far place. You're older, of course, slower. Your cloak, heavier. The same boots, though more patched. Your bench still creaks, but now it's out of respect. You sit, and no one knows why you do, but you do, and that is enough. You picture someone stopping, a traveler, curious, asking what you're watching, and you'll say, "The road." And when they ask what's down there, you'll shrug and say, "Same as always, whatever's next." They won't understand. That's fine. The warmth on your cheek returns. You open your eyes and glance upward. The clouds are drifting in slower circles now. They seem organized, as if in conversation. You watch their paths and wonder how long it took them to agree on a direction. Your thoughts stretch further back now, not just forward. You remember when you first took the post. You were younger, of course. You had more opinions, fewer observations. The gate was louder then, and the wind less kind. You tried to stand with your shoulders square, boots polished, spine stubborn. You had no idea how long stillness could last. Back then, you expected travelers every day. You readied yourself for voices, for footsteps, for carts filled with goods or gossip. You thought you'd be writing things down, taking names, checking seals, but most days there was nothing. And eventually, that nothing became something you understood. You learned the rhythm of quiet, the shifts in air pressure, the way sound carries when no one speaks. You memorized the feeling of morning on stone, the way your body sinks into certain temperatures like settling into thought. You grew into the post, not by holding it, but by letting it hold you. And now, years later, or decades ahead, you're still here. The space has changed, or not. The road still leads somewhere, or it doesn't. You remain part of it, whether or not anyone remembers your name. Not because of duty, not because of tradition, but because this is where you belong. You wonder, very quietly, if someone will sit here one day and feel the same pull. Not to protect, not to serve, just to sit, to listen, to observe, to count birds, to measure silence, to place their hand on the gate and feel the years hum beneath their fingers. You hope they do. And if they don't, that's fine too. The gate will forget in time. The bench will collapse or vanish. The castle will lean in different ways. The road will shift, fade, rise again. All of it will continue, with or without you. But for now, for this long, still stretch of breath, it continues with you. The air remains quiet. The trees don't answer. The stone beneath you holds. The years stretch behind and ahead like soft fabric pulled between fingers. Nothing presses. Nothing hurries. You exhale and let the moment settle. Whatever the future brings, it can arrive slowly. You'll be here, listening. You remain seated for a while longer, though it's hard to tell how much time has passed. There are no bells, no calls, no changes in the light that mark the hour. The sun sits somewhere behind the pale clouds now, diffuse and undecided. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to soften the world around you. Everything feels further away, not gone, just gently patted. The stone beneath you has warmed slightly from your weight. You shift your legs and feel the give of moss along the edge. Your fingertips rest loosely against your knees. Nothing twitches, nothing pulls. The stillness has deepened, not into silence, but into softness, as though even time has wrapped itself in a thicker cloak. You let your breath fall into a slower rhythm again. Not purposeful, not controlled, just present. In, then out. Through the nose, gently past the lips. Your shoulders don't rise much anymore. Your chest expands like a bellows at rest. The body becomes something distant, like an anchor you don't need to hold on to so tightly. A small insect drifts past your field of vision, not flying with purpose, but gliding, as if unsure where it meant to go. You watch it curve upward, then vanish into the blur of nearby leaves. Somewhere, a branch moves. The sound is soft, like a thumb brushing across linen. You don't open your eyes. The world feels clearer this way. The faint smell of stone dust lingers in the air. It mixes with the trace scent of whatever flower bloomed early and forgot to leave. You can't name the smell, but it's familiar. Something sharp and faintly sweet. The kind that reminds you of cloaks drying near a fire after rain. Your spine settles further. The weight of your head shifts. You lean slightly to the left and let your shoulder relax. The cloak falls loosely down your side, pulling softly at the clasp. You hear the faint sound of fabric, brushing fabric. It is quiet, almost ceremonial. There is nothing to see now, nothing pressing to witness or mark. The bench, the gate, the sky, all have receded into the background hum of memory. The road, which once seemed like something to monitor, has become part of the horizon. Its curve has relaxed, its edges faded. You no longer track where it begins or ends. It simply exists, as you do. You adjust your position again, slower this time. Your back rounds slightly. Your legs ease outward. The stone seat is less a surface now and more a foundation. It doesn't resist you. It supports. The warmth of your own body seems to reflect off it gently. As though returning a favor, breathing has become so slow it barely counts. Not shallow, just elongated. There's space between each inhale, each exhale. Enough space to forget you're doing it, until the air returns again. You feel it enter your nostrils, fill the hollow of your chest, and slip out again, leaving no trace. The light shifts once more. A cooler tone now. The gold has faded to a soft silver, as if the day is dimming on its own terms. The wind makes one final pass, brushing your cheek, lifting a stray piece of hair before moving on. You don't raise a hand to fix it. Let it be. You curl your fingers slightly. The tips rest lightly against your palm. You feel the calluses that have formed over the years, from what you couldn't say anymore. They're part of you now. Quiet reminders. You turn your hand slightly. Let it rest, palm up. Nothing falls into it. Nothing needs to. The trees no longer sway. Their leaves have stilled, each one suspended as though holding its breath. The quiet has taken on a weight, not oppressive, but comforting. Like being swaddled in a thick familiar blanket you didn't realize you missed. You are no longer sitting guard. You are simply sitting. You lean forward once, then back again, testing the sensation. Everything responds softly. Your boots remain planted, but your legs could easily fold to the side now. You let them, slowly, shifting from upright to a gentle sprawl. One boot rests on its side, the other bends slightly beneath your knee. Nothing complains. The grass presses gently against your ankle. The moss accepts the crease of your cloak without fuss. You let yourself settle backward, not fully lying down, but tilted now, spine curved, head dipping slightly forward. Your chin finds your chest. Your breath changes shape. The world continues to soften. The sky above turns pale, then nearly colorless. You open your eyes once more, just briefly. No clouds now. Just a wide, still dome that no longer suggests direction. You close your eyes again. There's nothing to see that matters. In this position, you feel the shape of your body more clearly. Not as something rigid, but as something surrounded. The air touches your cheeks gently. The stone curves into your hip. The ground rises slightly beneath your shoulder. You are not just resting on the world. You are being held by it. One more breath in, one more breath out. The rhythm is barely there. You begin to forget the need for it. Each inhalation is a suggestion. Each exhalation, a quiet retreat. Somewhere in the distance, a sound flickers, like a rope pulled taut, then released. You don't startle. You don't respond. The sound arrives, then fades. You remain in place. You are no longer thinking of the road, not of the gate, not of the job or the years or the questions ahead. All of it has settled behind you, folded into the landscape like worn paths in grass. There is no next shift, no bell, no signal, only this. You rest. The body eases into itself. The spine curves. The arms lie quiet. The breath finds its final rhythm. The world around you hums without asking for anything. You don't move. You don't plan to. You simply remain. Warm, soft, still. The stone beneath you holds firm. Your body, now reclined in its quiet arc, barely shifts with each breath. There's no stiffness, no weight pulling at your joints, just warmth and the familiar press of your cloak against your ribs. Even the folds of fabric have quieted, drawn smooth by stillness and time. The road, the bench, the castle, they no longer ask for your attention. They're there, but not here. They've drifted just far enough to let you be. You feel no need to open your eyes. The sky hasn't changed. You know its color by the light on your face. Soft gray, maybe, or that pale blue that forgets itself toward dusk. The kind of light that erases hard edges and blurs the outline of your hand against your chest. Everything becomes slower, wider, easier. You've forgotten how long you've been out here. Or maybe you never knew. The rhythm of days has softened. There are no bells anymore. No footsteps echoing from the gatehouse. No carts to signal from a distance. Even the wind seems to have completed its circuit and settled into rest. There's no push, no wait. You are no longer the one who watches. You are simply part of the watched. The quiet is a companion now, not an absence, a presence. It has shape, weight, breath. It joins you gently, sits beside you without ceremony. If it has questions, it keeps them to itself. You turn your head slightly to one side. The ground beneath your cheek is soft, moss or dry grass. You're not sure. It smells faintly of stone and Sunday familiar. You breathe it in without effort. There's no dust here, no sharp scent of iron or smoke, just earth and the memory of light rain. One of your hands lies open beside you. Your fingers are slightly curled, the way they fall when they're not being asked to do anything. You notice the coolness of the air along your palm. Not cold, just different from the warmth that gathers beneath your cloak. The contrast is gentle, like dipping your feet in a stream you don't need to cross. If someone walked past you now, they might not see you at all. Or they might pause, unsure whether you're asleep, or simply thinking, you wouldn't answer either way. There's no need. This moment asks for nothing. Not your name, not your duty, not even your awareness. And yet, you are aware of your breath, your bones, the way the fabric near your knee rises and falls like a sail catching shallow wind. You feel the breeze across your forehead. You hear the faint rustle of something behind you, a branch brushing its neighbor, or a small bird adjusting its weight. You don't turn to look. Whatever it is, It belongs here as much as you do. Your thoughts are loose now. They float in and out like fallen leaves. A memory of early morning light through the castle window. The feel of hot bread in your hands. A voice you haven't heard in years. Not saying anything specific, just existing in the space behind your ears. You let the memories come and go. They don't stay. They're not here to explain themselves. You feel grateful in a way that doesn't need words. Not for anything in particular, just for the way the air moves, for how your boots, though old, still keep your feet warm. For the road, quiet as an island. For the fact that this moment has been allowed to happen without interruption. There is no urgency, no list of things to do, no reminders, only breath and body and earth, and a gate you no longer need to watch. Your position shifts a little, just enough to let your shoulder rest more fully into the ground. You feel the curve of it, the way it welcomes you. You didn't ask for comfort, but it arrived anyway. Without announcement, without ceremony. It's easy now to forget the edges of things, where your cloak ends, where the grass begins, where your hand touches the air. Everything has softened into everything else. Boundaries exist, but they're loose, like the way dusk turns into night without asking permission. There's a quiet thought, brief, unspoken, that maybe this is what the gate was for all along. Not to hold others out or let them in, but to give you something to lean on. A reason to stay still long enough for the world to settle around you. You don't need to be anywhere else. There is nowhere more urgent, no place quieter, no road straighter. You've walked far enough and sat long enough, and now the world has curved back into comfort. You feel the last bits of tension leave your jaw. Your lips part slightly, not to speak, just to let the breath pass more easily. Your thoughts no longer form sentences, just shapes, tones, shifts in temperature behind your eyes. There's nothing more to say, nothing more to hold. Nothing more to do. Just this moment, and the breath that carries you gently through it. The world is quiet, not the kind of quiet that waits for a sound to return, but the kind that simply continues without needing anything. Around you, the air has taken on a slower rhythm. Even the breeze has forgotten how to move in straight lines. It curls softly through the trees, then forgets its purpose entirely, settling against your shoulder like a worn blanket folded over itself. You lie still, not out of effort, but because stillness is the only thing left to do. Your body, once shaped by habit and motion, has eased into the ground like something remembered. The cloak around you is heavy in the right places, light in others. Its folds draped where they want to be. One boot is still upright. The other leans outward. Your hand rests open beside your ribs, gently rising and falling with the slow weight of your breath. Somewhere, a bird calls out once, then decides against repeating itself. The sound fades before you can place it. Another breeze passes, softer this time, brushing your temple, then moving on. The grass bends gently around your legs. It doesn't press. It makes space. Your breath has slowed. Each inhale feels deeper than the last, though you barely notice the difference. The air enters cool, then leaves a little warmer, as if it has spent time with you before continuing on its way. There is no need to adjust your position, no ache, no pause. Your body has aligned with something larger than rest, something quieter than sleep. The sky above no longer holds color. Not blue, not gray, just openness. A wide, pale canvas that expects nothing from you. You don't look up. You don't need to. The light it casts reaches you gently, resting along your face, your chest, the tops of your hands. It brings no message, only calm. The sounds around you are fewer now. A distant creak, a branch letting go of something, a rustle near your foot that might be a leaf changing its mind. But these are not interruptions. They are part of the world continuing. They arrive and depart, like passing thoughts. Your jaw has softened. Your mouth rests slightly open, lips parted just enough for the breath to ease through. There is no tension in your brow. Your eyelids remain closed, not because you are shutting out the world, but because the world no longer asks to be seen. It is all around you now, quiet, soft, familiar. Time has stopped behaving like time. Minutes don't feel like minutes anymore. They stretch, or they collapse, or they stop entirely. You don't notice when one ends and another begins. Everything unfolds at the same pace now. Slow, slow, slower. Your thoughts are barely thoughts anymore. Just small sensations that rise, then dissolve before taking shape. A faint memory of heat from a fire long gone. The echo of a voice that didn't quite speak. The idea of movement, never acted upon. All of them pass through gently. None of them stay. The weight of your body has changed. It no longer presses into the ground. It is the ground. You can't tell where your shoulder ends and the moss begins. Your back rests in a curve that was always meant to be there. Your legs lie across the earth like they belong to it. Your hands no longer remember effort. You are being held by the earth, by the air, by the soft repetition of breath and stillness. The world asks nothing. The road is silent. The castle is gone. The gate no longer matters. The sky watches without expectation. Everything is where it should be. And you, still and slow, are exactly where you need to rest. Breath in, breath out. Breath in, breath out. Nothing moves. Nothing presses. Nothing waits. Sleep